In today's lesson for the Life in the UK test, I will recap a few things informing British politics and then move on to international ties. At its core, democracy is about people having power. In ancient Athens, citizens voted directly on every issue. That's called direct democracy. In modern times, this is rare. Instead, most countries have representative democracy. That's what we have in the UK. We vote for MPs who make decisions on our behalf. Democracy also means there are free and fair elections, laws apply equally to everyone, and governments can't just do what they want. They must follow rules and protect individual freedoms like freedom of speech and religion. In the UK, it has taken centuries to build the system that we have today. It began with the Magna Carta in 1215, a document that forced King John to acknowledge the law could limit royal power. Over time, Parliament changed from a council advising the king to a legislature, making laws on behalf of the people. By the 1600s, the Bill of Rights established that Parliament had more power than the monarch. In the 1800s and early 1900s, a series of acts gradually gave more people the right to vote. At first, voting was reserved for wealthy men. It wasn't until 1918 that most men and some women could vote, and 1928 when all adults could vote. Today, Britain is a liberal democracy. This means people can vote in free elections, laws are applied equally, and individual rights are protected. Most countries have a single written constitution, but the UK is different. Its constitution is uncodified, which means it's not in one document. Instead, it's made up of laws passed by Parliament, legal rulings by judges, long-established customs, and respected writings. Even though it's not written down in one place, it still sets out who has power and how it's used. For example, it explains how Parliament works, what rights people have, and how power is shared between different parts of the state. After Brexit, some EU laws still influence UK rules, but their role has been reduced. We went through the structure of the UK government in detail in the previous lesson, but again, just a little recap here. The UK is both a monarchy and a democracy. The king is still the head of state, but his role is mostly symbolic. The real decision makers are elected politicians. The government has three branches. The executive, the Prime Minister and Cabinet, run the country. Parliament, made up of the House of Commons and House of Lords, passes laws. And the judiciary makes sure laws are followed and fairly applied. The separation helps prevent one group from having too much power. For example, courts can rule if a law breaks human rights, even if Parliament passed it. Democracy isn't just about voting every few years. There are many ways in which people in the UK can get involved. They might join a political party, write to their MP about an issue, or sign a petition. People also protest in public, especially if they feel strongly about a topic. Pressure groups campaign on specific issues like climate change or animal welfare. All of these actions help shape decisions and keep democracy alive. While the structure and history of British democracy are rooted in its own political evolution, the influence of the UK extends far beyond its borders. Its democratic institutions and legal frameworks have shaped and continue to shape political systems in other countries, particularly within the Commonwealth. Understanding Britain's international and Commonwealth ties helps us see how its democratic principles interact on a global scale. This slide should look familiar from one of the previous lessons. So, just a bit of a recap on the Commonwealth, which is a group of countries that work together on shared aims like promoting democracy and development. Most members used to be colonies of the British Empire, but some, Mozambique, Rwanda, and Togo, never were. They chose to join later due to common values of democracy, development, and cooperation, and wanting stronger international ties. There are currently 56 nations part of the Commonwealth, and King Charles is the symbolic head. And another familiar slide, the overseas territories of Great Britain. There are 14 territories, technically 16, which remain under UK power. Mostly they're small islands around the world, and the UK handles their defence and foreign affairs, and the residents are British citizens. So the EU began in the 1950s when 6 European nations signed the Treaty of Rome to strengthen economic cooperation. Britain initially stayed out but joined later in 1973. The organization has grown to 27 members. In the 2016 referendum, people in the UK voted to leave. This is known as Brexit. The UK's exit became official in January 2020. The Council of Europe is often confused with the European Union, but it is completely separate. It has 46 members, and its main role is to promote and protect human rights across Europe. It cannot make laws, but it sets out agreements that governments can sign up to, such as the European Convention on Human Rights. The United Nations was created after the Second World War to encourage peace and cooperation worldwide. It now has nearly every country as a member. The most powerful part of the UN is the Security Council, which responds to global threats and crises. The UK is one of the 5 permanent members, giving it a central role in decision-making. The NATO is a defense organization made up of countries from Europe and North America. Members agree to protect one another if any are attacked. It also focuses on promoting peace and stability among its members. Here, an overview of what was covered in today's lesson on British politics and international ties. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next lesson.